How you doing? Anthony Ferraro here of Create Sci-Fi. This week I want to talk to you about costume building. More specifically, inexpensive sci-fi costume building by getting some very simple, cheap items at your local Goodwill or Salvation Army or thrift store. And I'm going to show you how to take, shirts and jackets that you get for $2, $3 and add some accents with some craft foam and make some really cool sci-fi pieces for like under $25. I mean, I went to my local Goodwill and I got some pants, and with just some foam accents, I was able to make these, and this jacket came out great. Now, to prove this point, basically what I did is I went to my local Goodwill and just started shopping, and the costume came out of what I found that day. So you see here, I started with the boots, and once I found these boots, I kind of built up from there. I knew I wanted like a military pant, so I found these pants, and then the jacket and a shirt, and this was my foundation to build this costume. So by working with these totally random pieces that I found at the Goodwill, I put together this costume, and then I made a short film, and we went out and filmed this costume on the actress, and I'll share that with you as well. So let's take a look at the build.
All right, so the first thing I do is just sort of lay everything out, get a sense of what I'm working for, and then I just dig right in. So first thing I do is I get rid of all the labels and tags. And then what I'm gonna do now is, because I have 3 different items that are not meant to be together, I put them in a brown dye, and now you can see it's all uniform. And that just helps to tie everything together, and it adds value for very little money. So now I'm going to create some very simple patterns with duct tape to add my foam embellishments. And this is a great, simple, effective technique that I picked up from watching the Evil Ted channel. I'll link that below. And then now I'm just going to take these basic patterns that I created. They're form fitted to the fabric. I'm going to put them on some foil. And then this is what I'm going to transfer to the foam. And you can get this at Michael's or Joann's or even at the dollar store. I've seen it. And now I'm going to transfer my patterns to the foam. And I'm just going to trace these out. And I'm just gonna cut these out roughly, so it's just a little easier to manage before I do the fine cutting. And now I'm just cutting out the patterns. Now I decided at this point that I'm going to make all these little triangles as embellishments for the buttons and for the collars. It was just a really easy way to add value. Now to add dimensionality, I'm taking my Dremel tool and I'm just making these rivets by taking the sanding drum and coming straight on with it. Again, another wonderful thing I learned from watching Evil Ted. Next, I'm going to glue on some of these triangles that I cut out just to add a little more definition. Now these are the knee pads, and again, I put the rivets, and now I'm just taking a hot wood knife and adding a little bit of detail. And that'll really pop later once we do the weathering. So now we just seal the foam with a coat of this Plastidip. And again, we're trying to keep this simple and inexpensive. So now I'm just using gold paint to just add a little bit of detail to this shirt. And then I have these pockets on the pants just to make them pop and a little more interesting. I'm just simply painting them with gold paint. So now my foam accents are ready for paint. I'm just going to do a dry brush treatment on this with a gold metallic, and it's just going to give it that nice metallic look that's really going to add value to our costume. All right, so that looks great. So next, with the buttons, I'm going to customize them to tie them into the rest of the piece without having to sew on new buttons. I'm just simply going to take these buttons and paint them black. And then once that's dry, I'm going to glue on these triangles that I prepared earlier. And that's just going to make it more custom. Now I'm getting ready to glue onto the fabric, and this is where we come to E6000. E6000 helps you to glue things to fabric and rubber and foam, and it makes a very, very solid bond. Okay, so now I'm just putting it on the epaulets, and I'm just going to press this down. And again, this is that flexible glue, but you want to make sure it stays and it has like about 24 hours to cure. This is the top embellishment for the pocket. Now, while that's drying, I'm going to paint the bag and the boots. And I just want to add another triangle detail. Very simple, but again, it'll tie everything together. Now this paint is amazing. This paint is for painting floral arrangements, and it has a finer mist, and it really adheres to leather and fabric nicely. And this was just an easy way to get this really cool detail on these boots. That looks great. And then there's the bag. Now, as you can see, everything looks good now, but it's too pristine. So what we're gonna do, like props, is we're gonna weather it up. I'm just going to splash some black and some brown, really diluted with a lot of water, and I'm just gonna rub it in, and I'm just gonna make this look like somebody's been wearing it, kicking around in a spaceship or running around on a planet for a couple of weeks. It just really ties everything together and adds life. And now we're just gonna take a look at the difference between the piece we purchased and the treatments that we did to it with the dye, the weathering, and the foam. And as you can see, it looks very heavy-handed, the weathering, but this adds a lot of value. And what you're gonna see here is when we put it on the actress, when she's in the world, when she's standing there in sunlight and the camera's moving and there's a background, it just blends together really nicely. And keep in mind, when we went into the Goodwill, we had no idea what we were going to make, and I'm very happy with this.
I mean, for me, that's just a lot of fun. All these triangle details just came out of the build. It was a simple way to get some kind of geometry and a look, a theme for this piece. And then it also ended up informing the title. I called the film Triangulate. So I hope you found this inspiring. I hope you found some of the steps useful for something you're thinking about doing. So please leave a comment. I'd love to know what you think. Share this video, subscribe, sign up for the email newsletter, and remember, I'm just here to help make sci-fi.